guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Heather. I'm a homeschooling mom of 3 kids, elementary and high school age. Today I'm going to be chatting part 4 of my homeschool planning series. There's a lot of parts. I've noticed this about myself every year when I film these planning videos. There are many parts to my homeschool planning process, and there are some people that are able to do it in a weekend. That is not me. I take a lot of time to kind of prep and work through things. So I hope you guys are enjoying it. If you're not subscribed, I would love for you to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you're notified of all of my future videos. We're also talking a lot about homeschool planning and creating new rhythms over in my membership community during the summer, so I'd love for you to come check us out if you haven't. So today we're going to be talking about structuring our homeschool year. There are so many different ways that you can do this, and I have a few things that we are going to continue doing that we've started doing in the past couple of years, and I'm really excited to share that with you. So the first thing that you really need to do is figure out what your homeschool laws are in your state. Obviously, each state has their own homeschool laws. There are some states that have no requirements. There are some states that are very, very specific about homeschool days or hours that you're homeschooling. In the state of Maine, we have to have 175 homeschool days, and so I know that right at the beginning of the year that I need to focus on 175 homeschool days. We often go over because I do consider us year-round homeschoolers, even though we kind of follow a bunch of different schedules. So the first thing that I do when I am thinking about the structure of our year is I actually just find a free mini calendar planner online and print it out so that I am not using my beautiful teacher planner from Erin Condren to write and erase and make notes. So I kind of pre-plan on just a piece of computer paper that I've printed out. And then once I figure out exactly what I want to do, I will transfer all of that information into the mini monthly calendars in my Erin Condren teacher planner. I do have an initial setup video of my teacher planner, how I make it into a homeschool planner, the things that I change, why I'm using a teacher planner instead of the homeschool planner from Erin Condren or instead of other homeschool planners that are out there. I talk about all of that. I'll leave some links in the description box if you're interested. So the first thing that you have to do is kind of consider what is your year. And since I started homeschooling, I have considered our year July 1st through June 30th. Part of that is because that's what our public school calendar runs like. And so it just made sense for me to also set up our homeschool year that way. We are year-round homeschoolers, so I know that we'll start in July, but we take different breaks throughout the year that are very different than public school. So you're going to look at your year as a whole and figure out how you want your year to go. So you can consider yourself a year-round homeschooler and do a July through June calendar like I do. You can do a traditional public school calendar, September through May. Whatever month you want to start your homeschool year in is totally fine, as long as you recognize what the requirements are in your state. We consider ourselves year-round homeschoolers specifically for the freedom it allows us to take vacations in very different parts of the year and kind of shift our priorities. So if you've watched my videos for any length of time, you will know that we take off Thanksgiving through New Year's every year. This is something that I started when I don't know if it was the year before I had Lucy or if it was the year I had Lucy. Lucy is a late fall baby, and so I knew that I was going to have to take a large chunk of time off when I came home with a newborn and still homeschool my kids. That just wasn't happening. So I took a couple of months off from homeschooling, and it was wonderful, and it's something that we've continued each year. It's also something that I ask my kids about each year. If they want to start earlier in the summer and take off that big chunk of time at Christmas, or if they would rather start closer to when their friends start school. Most of my kids' friends are in public school, and so they obviously start at the end of August or after Labor Day, depending on the year. So I do give my kids the choice each year of whether or not they want to start early or if they want to take that big chunk of time off in December. And they have always chosen to take that big chunk of time off. So That's what we're going to continue with. Then the next thing that you kind of have to figure out is how you're going to structure your weeks. Are you going to school 5 days a week? Are you going to school 4 days a week? Are you going to have a co-op day during your week? How is that going to impact the homeschool materials that you're using the other days? Do you do most of your core subjects at a co-op and then they come home with a lot of homework that they have to work through during the week, something like classical conversations? Or is it more of like a specials co-op where they're doing like art or music or other fun projects that don't necessarily cover a whole subject, or it's something extra like fine arts? You have to kind of look at all of that stuff and figure out if you're going to be doing those things for the new year. We do not involve ourselves in a co-op, and that is what works best for us. There were not really any co-ops when we first started homeschooling, and then we did try a few different ones, but we quickly realized that having to be on somebody else's schedule just didn't work for us. We much prefer to have the time at home. So I do plan for a 5-day school week, but the way that I set up our weeks is a little bit different. So we have Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday are very heavy homeschool days for us. They're heavy mom homeschool days, which means that they are doing the majority of the resources that I've chosen for them for the year in their core subjects. On Wednesdays, we have a passion project focus day. So they do still do some of their daily tasks that they do most days, like their Wordly Wise and their World Watch, current events. They are still doing math and reading and most English, but I'm not doing history with them or doing a lot of read alouds and that kind of stuff or discussion-based homeschooling. And instead they get to focus their time on their passion projects. For Jack, that is a lot of animation. He's been working on an animated series with one of his friends, and so they work on that a lot. And Emma has written a novel, which was her big focus this past year. She's revising it now, and so that is still kind of an ongoing passion project for her. And so they have dedicated time on Wednesday to work on those projects. And then on Friday, we switch to a screen-free day. This day, it depends on the time of year. My ideal is to not have any computer-based learning on Friday, which sometimes is harder because my older two have done a lot of online classes for their high school credits. This next year will be a little bit different because Emma does not have any computer-based work, but Jack actually has a lot more computer-based work. And so I haven't quite figured out how I'm going to manage that yet, but that's part of this homeschool planning process, structuring our homeschool year and figuring out exactly what we need to do when. So that's kind of how I structure our weeks. And then the other thing is figuring out vacations. And so probably you would want to do vacations before you figure out the structure of your week, because that will impact, are you able to do 4 days a week and do 42 weeks of school instead of 36 or 35, just depending on how you want to structure things. So we, this past year, started doing a 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule, and we really liked that. And it was the first time that I had built-in breaks for homeschooling, and I wasn't entirely sure how we would use that time because it wasn't like we were going to be going on a vacation every 6 weeks. It was mainly just taking time off from homeschooling. But the way that I ended up structuring that portion of our year was to give my kids a week of passion project focused time. So the week off from school is a week off from their traditional math, science, history, English, and instead they deep dive on whatever project they have been working on the previous 6 weeks on those Wednesdays. So sometimes throughout the year, my kids, specifically Jack, would have one project that he was working on during the 6 weeks of Wednesday passion project days, and then he would finish the project on that 7th week and then move to a new project. Emma started with her novel, and then she went right through October with that novel. So it was 12 weeks of working through that novel, 12 weeks of Wednesdays, and then 2 weeks of vacations or passion project focus weeks. And then she moved to NaNoWriMo in November, which she focused on for the month of November. So it really just depends what their passion projects are. In the second semester, it was all animation on one particular project, and they would just spend more time on that 7th week working on that project. Or for Emma, it was revising her novel. So it wasn't different projects each 6-week chunk of time. So that's kind of what we're hoping to do again this year. Although the way that I have kind of structured things, it's going to not really be a 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule. Like, we're going to start with 3 weeks and then have a week off because it's Jack's birthday, and his birthday happens to fall in the middle of the week. And then we're going to do several weeks and then have a week off after the kids start public school, when everybody's in school, but the weather's still really nice in Maine, so we can go do some fun things then. We also want to take a week off for Lucy's birthday, which is later in the fall. And so we have our 18 weeks scheduled for the fall semester, but they're just kind of all over the place this year. It's not a traditional 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule, which is totally fine. In the spring, it is more of a 6 weeks on, 1 week off schedule. But that is one of the beauties of homeschooling, that you can kind of make it work for you. So we are going to have some vacations in the fall, but they're not going to be going away vacations. They're going to be more staycations, I guess. And part of the week will be staycation related if my husband has some time off. Part of the week will be for passion project focus. So that's a little bit different than what we've done in the past, even from last year. But the kids and I sat down and talked about it, and we feel really good about this schedule. I feel really good about the schedule. And so I'm excited about that. And then the next step that I need to do is to kind of go through my yearly plan. I have 12 boxes here for the year, and what I am going to do is kind of write any themes that I want to focus on in the months, if we have vacations planned, or weeks off rather, in the months, important dates, but then also things that I want to make sure that we focus on. Like in August, we always go to the fair. And in September, we go apple picking. And some of those things are things that I used to do when my older two were in elementary school. I would have all of these little activities. Then I kind of forgot about that. And now that Lucy's going into 4th grade, I'm realizing that I need to do that more. I did do that a little bit last year with her, but I want to focus on that more this year. And then any other books or resources that I want to make sure that I am getting to in these different months. So what I will do is I will go through all of the curriculum we're using, and I will kind of benchmark the different things. And I use little list sticky notes from Erin Condren until I have everything the way that I want it, and then I will write it down, just so that I'm not having to white out a bunch of stuff, because it does take me a long time to organize all of that. Having 2 high schoolers and an upper elementary student, or even 3 kids in 3 very different levels, has been challenging for me. We don't do a lot of together subjects. This year, my high schoolers are doing quite a bit together with the government and economics and personal finance course, but even that, they are going to be doing different parts of the course based on their age. Jack, sophomore level work, Emma, senior level work, so just based on what they need. So it's going to be a little interesting. So this is kind of the next step in my homeschool planning process. It's figuring out the structure of our homeschool year, figuring out how much time I need to get through the different materials. If you do not have instructor's guides for the resources that you're using, you can take the resources, figure out how long you want to give yourself to get through that resource, and then divide it by the number of days that you have for that time period. And that's how you know how much of each book you need to get through, how many worksheet pages, how to manage different projects. That's kind of what I do. And I do that even with our Sunlight material, because even though they give you a very detailed instructor's guide, I've been using Sunlight since 2010, and I still completely revamp the schedule. I do use the order of the schedule. I do use a lot of the resources, the questions, the discussion questions, all of the background information of the different books, all of that stuff. I use all of that, but I adjust how we do it and the things that we do each day. So this is the point where everything is kind of head down, getting to work, figuring out exactly what you're going to work through each day. I hope that this was helpful for you. It really is specific to your family. How you structure your year, you have to take into account your family, the things that you do on a yearly basis. Are there times when your spouse is off from work that you know that you need to adjust things with the homeschool? Do you do a little bit each day, every day? Are you adjusting your schedule to do more stuff on the weekends because maybe you work or have other activities? Are you really into co-ops and you have a lot of outside the house stuff, so you have to fit in 5 days into 4 days? How do you adjust those things? All of those questions are very personal for you and your specific family. And one of the wonderful things about homeschooling is that you can choose to do whatever you want as long as you're still within your homeschool statute for your state. It doesn't mean that even if you have an hours requirement for homeschooling, you don't have to do that hours requirement between 8 a.m. and 1. You could start at noon and finish at 6 o'clock. It doesn't have to be the way that the public school runs their year. So I hope that this was helpful. It's just kind of a brainstorm for me too, because as I said in one of my previous homeschool planning videos, I'm filming these in real time. I am not filming these way ahead of time. So this is the next step in my process that I'm going to be working on over the next several weeks, and hopefully getting as much done as I can before we start school in July, while also having a little bit of a break. So that is where I am in the planning process. I have come up with some good ideas on the structure of our first semester and second semester as to when we're going to be in school and when we're going to have weeks off. So I'm really looking forward to that. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have questions about anything that I talked about, please let me know in the comments, or you can email me. My contact form is always in the description box. Again, I would love for you to come check out my membership community. We are talking a lot about homeschool rhythms, homeschool curriculum, all of the homeschool planning things, goals, all of that stuff. And I would love to have you come join us. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys. Bye.